Montenegro is a country in southeast Europe. It is bordered by Bosnia and Herzegovina to the north, Serbia to the northeast, Kosovo to the east, Albania to the southeast, and Croatia and the Adriatic Sea to the northwest with a coastline of 293.5 kilometers. Podgorica, Cyrillic, is the country's capital and its largest city. It covers 10.4% of Montenegro's territory of 13,812 square kilometers, 5,333 square miles, and is home to roughly 31% of its total population of 621,000. Cetinje, Cyrillic, is the former royal capital and cultural center of Montenegro and is the location of several national institutions, including the official residence of the President of Montenegro. During the early medieval period, 3 principalities were located on the territory of modern-day Montenegro: Dukejelja, roughly corresponding to the southern half, Travunia, the west, and Rasha proper, the north. The Principality of Zeta emerged in the 14th and 15th centuries. From the late 14th century to the late 18th century, large parts of southern Montenegro were ruled by the Venetian Republic and incorporated into Venetian Albania. The name Montenegro was first used to refer to the country in the late 15th century. After falling under Ottoman Empire rule, Montenegro gained semi-autonomy in 1696 under the rule of the House of Petrović-Njegoš, first as a theocracy and later as a secular principality. Montenegro's independence was recognized by the Great Powers at the Congress of Berlin in 1878. In 1910, the country became a kingdom. After World War I, the kingdom became part of Yugoslavia. Following the breakup of Yugoslavia, the republics of Serbia and Montenegro together proclaimed a federation. In June 2006, Montenegro declared its independence from Serbia and Montenegro following an independence referendum, creating Montenegro and Serbia as they exist today. Montenegro is therefore one of the newest internationally recognized countries in the world. Montenegro has an upper-middle income economy, and ranks 49th in the Human Development Index. It is a member of the United Nations, NATO, the World Trade Organization, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, the Council of Europe, and the Central European Free Trade Agreement. Montenegro is also a founding member of the Union for the Mediterranean, and has been in the process of joining the European Union since 2012.
Etymology.
The country's English name derives from a Venetian calque of the Serbian, Crna Gora, meaning literally, Black Mountain, deriving from the appearance of Mount Loven which was covered in dense evergreen forests. Crna Gora was mentioned for the first time in edicts issued by Stefan Uroi to the Serbian Orthodox Zeta episcopate seat at Vranjina Island in Lake Skadar. It came to denote the majority of contemporary Montenegro in the 15th century. Modern-day Montenegro was more and more known by that name in the historical period following the fall of the Serbian despotate. Originally, it had referred to only a small strip of land under the rule of the Petrovii tribe, but the name eventually came to be used for the wider mountainous region after the Crnojevi noble family took power in Upper Zeta. The aforementioned region became known as Stara Crna Gora, Old Montenegro, by the 19th century to distinguish the independent region from the neighboring Ottoman-occupied Montenegrin territory of Bradar, the Highlands. Montenegro further increased its size several times by the 20th century, as the result of wars against the Ottoman Empire, which saw the annexation of Old Herzegovina and parts of Metohija and southern Racha. Its borders have changed little since then, losing Metohija and gaining the Bay of Kotor. After the second session of the AVNOJ during World War II in Yugoslavia, the contemporary modern state of Montenegro was founded as the Federal State of Montenegro, Montenegrin, Savezna Drava Crne Gore, on 15 November 1943 within the Yugoslav Federation by the ZAVNOCGB. After the war, Montenegro became a republic under its name, the People's Republic of Montenegro, Montenegrin, Narodna Republika Crna Gora, on 29 November 1945. In 1963, it was renamed to the Socialist Republic of Montenegro, Montenegrin, Socialistica Republika Crna Gora. As the breakup of Yugoslavia occurred, the SRCG was renamed to the Republic of Montenegro, Montenegrin, Republika Crna Gora, on 27 April 1992 within the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia by removing the adjective «socialist» from the republic's title. Since the 22nd of October 2007, a year after its independence, the name of the country became simply known as Montenegro. The country is known as Mali Iz, lit. Black Mountain, in Albanian, while it is known as Crna Gora in Montenegrin, Serbian, Bosnian as well as in Croatian.
History. Antiquity.
Modern-day Montenegro was part of Illyria and populated by the Indo-European speaking Illyrians. The Illyrian kingdom was conquered by the Roman Republic in the Illyro-Roman Wars and the region was incorporated into the province of Illyricum, later Dalmatia and Praevalitana.
Arrival of the Slavs.
3 principalities were located on the territory. Dukeelja, roughly corresponding to the southern half, Travunia, the west, and Racha, the north. Dukeelja gained its independence from the Byzantine Roman Empire in 1042. Over the next few decades, it expanded its territory to neighboring Rascia and Bosnia, and also became recognized as a kingdom. Its power started declining at the beginning of the 12th century. After King Bodin's death, in 1101 or 1108, civil wars ensued. Dukeelja reached its zenith under Vojislav's son, Mihailo, 10,461,081, and his grandson Constantine Bodin, 10,811,101. As the nobility fought for the throne, the kingdom was weakened, and by 1186, the territory of modern-day Montenegro became part of the state ruled by Stefan Nemanja and was a part of various state formations ruled by the Nemanji dynasty for the next 2 centuries. After the Serbian Empire collapsed in the second half of the 14th century, the most powerful Zetan family, the Balis, became sovereigns of Zeta. By the 13th century, Zeta had replaced Dukeelja when referring to the realm. In the late 14th century, southern Montenegro, Zeta, came under the rule of the Bali noble family, then the Crnojevi noble family, and by the 15th century, Zeta was more often referred to as Crna Gora. In 1421, Zeta was annexed to the Serbian despotate, but after 1455, another noble family from Zeta, the Crnojevis, became sovereign rulers of the country, making it the last free monarchy of the Balkans before it fell to the Ottomans in 1496, and got annexed to the Sanjak of Shkodër. For a short time, Montenegro existed as a separate autonomous Sanjak in 1514-1528, Sanjak of Montenegro. Also, Old Herzegovina region was part of Sanjak of Herzegovina.
Early modern period.
From 1392, numerous parts of the territory were controlled by Republic of Venice, including the city of Budva, in that time known as Budua. The Venetian territory was centered on the Bay of Kotor, and the Republic introduced governors who meddled in Montenegrin politics. Venice controlled territories in present-day Montenegro until its fall in 1797. Large portions fell under the control of the Ottoman Empire from 1496 to 1878. In the 16th century, Montenegro developed a unique form of autonomy within the Ottoman Empire that permitted Montenegrin clans freedom from certain restrictions. Nevertheless, the Montenegrins were disgruntled with Ottoman rule, and in the 17th century, repeatedly rebelled, which culminated in the defeat of the Ottomans in the Great Turkish War at the end of that century. Montenegrin territories were controlled by warlike clans. Most clans had a chieftain, Knez, who was not permitted to assume the title unless he proved to be as worthy a leader as his predecessor. An assembly of Montenegrin clans, Zabor, was held every year on 12 July in Cetinje, and any adult clansman could take part. In 1515, Montenegro became a theocracy led by the Metropolitanate of Montenegro and the Littoral, which flourished after the Petrovian Jego of Cetinje became the Prince-Bishop, whose title was Vladika of Montenegro. People from Montenegro in this historical period were described as Orthodox Serbs.
Principality and Kingdom of Montenegro.
In 1858, one of the major Montenegrin victories over the Ottomans occurred at the Battle of Grahovac. Grand Duke Mirko Petrovi, elder brother of Knjaz Danilo, led an army of 7,500 and defeated the numerically superior Ottomans with 15,000 troops at Grahovac on 1 May 1858. This forced the Great Powers to officially demarcate the borders between Montenegro and Ottoman Empire, de facto recognizing Montenegro's independence. In the Battle of Vujidu, Montenegrins inflicted a major defeat on the Ottoman army under Grand Vizier Ahmed Muhtar Pasha. In the aftermath of the Russian victory against the Ottoman Empire in the Russo-Turkish War of 18,771,878, the major powers restructured the map of the Balkan region. The Ottoman Empire recognized the independence of Montenegro in the Treaty of Berlin in 1878. The first Montenegrin constitution, also known as the Danilo Code, was proclaimed in 1855. Under Nicholas I, ruled 18,601,918, the principality was enlarged several times in the Montenegro-Turkish Wars and was recognized as independent in 1878. Nicholas I established diplomatic relations with the Ottoman Empire. Minor border skirmishes excepted, diplomacy ushered in about 30 years of peace between the two states until the deposition of Abdul Hamid II in 1909. The political skills of Abdul Hamid II and Nicholas I played a major role in the mutually amicable relations. Modernization of the state followed, culminating with the draft of a constitution in 1905. However, political rifts emerged between the reigning People's Party, who supported the process of democratization and union with Serbia, and those of the True People's Party, who were monarchist. In 1910, Montenegro became a kingdom, and as a result of the Balkan Wars of 19,121,913, a common border with Serbia was established, with Škoda being awarded to Albania, though the current capital city of Montenegro, Podgorica, was on the old border of Albania and Yugoslavia. Montenegro became one of the Allied powers during World War I, 1914–18. In the Battle of Mojkovac fought in January 1916 between Austria-Hungary and the Kingdom of Montenegro, Montenegrins achieved a decisive victory even though they were outnumbered 5–1. The Austro-Hungarians accepted military surrender on 25 January 1916. From 1916 to October 1918, Austria-Hungary occupied Montenegro. During the occupation, King Nicholas fled the country and established a government in exile in Bordeaux.
Kingdom of Yugoslavia.
In 1922, Montenegro formally became the Oblast of Cetinje in the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes, with the addition of the coastal areas around Budva and Bay of Kotor. In a further restructuring in 1929, it became a part of a larger Zeta Banat of the Kingdom of Yugoslavia that reached the Neretva River. Nicholas's grandson, the Serb king Alexander I, dominated the Yugoslav government. Zeta Banovina was one of 9 Banovinas that formed the kingdom. It consisted of the present-day Montenegro and parts of Serbia, Croatia, and Bosnia.
World War II and Socialist Yugoslavia.
In April 1941, Nazi Germany, the Kingdom of Italy, and other Axis allies attacked and occupied the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. Italian forces occupied Montenegro and established a puppet kingdom of Montenegro. In May, the Montenegrin branch of the Communist Party of Yugoslavia started preparations for an uprising planned for mid-July. The Communist Party and its Youth League organized 6,000 of its members into detachments prepared for guerrilla warfare. According to some historians, the first armed uprising in Nazi-occupied Europe happened on 13 July 1941 in Montenegro. Unexpectedly, the uprising took hold, and by 20 July, 32,000 men and women had joined the fight. Except for the coast and major towns, Podgorica, Cetinje, Pljevlja, and Niki, which were besieged, Montenegro was mostly liberated. In a month of fighting, the Italian army suffered 5,000 dead, wounded, and captured. The uprising lasted until mid-August, when it was suppressed by a counter-offensive of 67,000 Italian troops brought in from Albania. Faced with new and overwhelming Italian forces, many of the fighters laid down their arms and returned home. Nevertheless, intense guerrilla fighting lasted until December. Fighters who remained under arms fractured into two groups. Most of them went on to join the Yugoslav partisans, consisting of communists and those inclined towards active resistance. These included Arso Jovanovi, Sava Kovajevi, Svetozar Vukmanovi Tempo, Milova Nilas, Pico Dapevi, Vlado Dapevi, Veljko Vlahovi, and Blau Jovanovi. Those loyal to the Karajevi dynasty and opposing communism went on to become Chetniks, and turned to collaboration with Italians against the partisans. War broke out between partisans and Chetniks during the first half of 1942. Pressured by Italians and Chetniks, the core of the Montenegrin partisans went to Serbia and Bosnia, where they joined with other Yugoslav partisans. Fighting between partisans and Chetniks continued through the war. Chetniks with Italian backing controlled most of the country from mid-1942 to April 1943. Montenegrin Chetniks received the status of anti-communist militia, and received weapons, ammunition, food rations, and money from Italy. Most of them were moved to Mostar, where they fought in the Battle of Neretva against the partisans, but were dealt a heavy defeat. During German Operation Schwarz against the partisans in May and June 1943, Germans disarmed many Chetniks without fighting, as they feared they would turn against them in case of an Allied invasion of the Balkans. After the capitulation of Italy in September 1943, partisans managed to take hold of most of Montenegro for a brief time, but Montenegro was soon occupied by German forces, and fierce fighting continued during late 1943 and 1944. Montenegro was liberated by the partisans in December 1944. Montenegro became one of the 6 constituent republics of the Communist Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, SFRY. Its capital became Podgorica, renamed Titograd in honor of President Josip Broz Tito. After the war, the infrastructure of Yugoslavia was rebuilt, industrialization began, and the University of Montenegro was established. Greater autonomy was established until the Socialist Republic of Montenegro ratified a new constitution in 1974.
Montenegro within FR Yugoslavia.
After the dissolution of the SFRY in 1992, Montenegro remained part of a smaller Federal Republic of Yugoslavia along with Serbia. In the referendum on remaining in Yugoslavia in 1992, the turnout was 66%, with 96% of the votes cast in favor of the federation with Serbia. The referendum was boycotted by the Muslim, Albanian, and Catholic minorities, as well as pro-independence Montenegrins. The opponents claimed that the poll was organized under anti-democratic conditions with widespread propaganda from the state-controlled media in favor of a pro-federation vote. No impartial report on the fairness of the referendum was made, as it was unmonitored, unlike in a later 2006 referendum when European Union observers were present. During the 19,911,995 Bosnian War and Croatian War, Montenegrin police and military forces joined Serbian troops in attacks on Dubrovnik, Croatia. These operations, aimed at acquiring more territory, were characterized by large-scale violations of human rights. Montenegrin General Pavle Struga was convicted for his part in the bombing of Dubrovnik. Bosnian refugees were arrested by Montenegrin police and transported to Serb camps in Foa, where they were subjected to systematic torture and executed. In 1996, Milo Đukanović's government severed ties between Montenegro and its partner Serbia, which was led by Slobodan Milović. Montenegro formed its own economic policy and adopted the German Deutsche Mark as its currency and subsequently adopted the euro, although not part of the eurozone. Subsequent governments pursued pro-independence policies, and political tensions with Serbia simmered despite political changes in Belgrade. Targets in Montenegro were bombed by NATO forces during Operation Allied Force in 1999, although the extent of these attacks was limited in both time and area affected. In 2002, Serbia and Montenegro came to a new agreement for continued cooperation and entered into negotiations regarding the future status of the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. This resulted in the Belgrade Agreement, which saw the country's transformation into a more decentralized state union named Serbia and Montenegro in 2003. The Belgrade Agreement also contained a provision delaying any future referendum on the independence of Montenegro for at least 3 years.
Independence.
The status of the union between Montenegro and Serbia was decided by a referendum on Montenegrin independence on 21 May 2006. A total of 419,240 votes were cast, representing 86.5% of the electorate. 230,661 votes, 55.5%, were for independence and 185,002 votes, 44.5%, were against. This narrowly surpassed the 55% threshold needed to validate the referendum under the rules set by the European Union. According to the Electoral Commission, the 55% threshold was passed by only 2,300 votes. Serbia, the member states of the European Union, and the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council all recognized Montenegro's independence. The 2006 referendum was monitored by 5 international observer missions, headed by an OSCE, ODIHR team, and around 3,000 observers in total, including domestic observers from CDT, OSCE-PA, the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, PACE, the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities of the Council of Europe, CLIE, and the European Parliament, EP, to form an International Referendum Observation Mission, IROM. The IRO Minutes preliminary report assessed compliance of the referendum process with OSCE commitments, Council of Europe commitments, other international standards for democratic electoral processes, and domestic legislation. Furthermore, the report stated that the competitive pre-referendum environment was marked by an active and generally peaceful campaign and that there were no reports of restrictions on fundamental civil and political rights. On 3 June 2006, the Montenegrin parliament declared the independence of Montenegro, formally confirming the result of the referendum. On 28 June 2006, Montenegro joined the United Nations as its 192nd member state. Montenegro has been dominated since the breakup of Yugoslavia by Milo Đukanović, 4-time prime minister and also twice president, accused of having established an authoritarianism and clientelist regime, while maintaining close relations with organized crime. The massive privatizations of the Đukanović era lead to the enrichment of him and oligarchs close to him. His brother Alexander, owner of Montenegro's first private bank, oversaw the privatizations, while his sister, Ana Kolarević, has long controlled the judiciary. The clientelist networks of the ruling party dominated all segments of social life. A party card was required to start a business or obtain a position in the administration. This policy also contributed to the reinforcement of regional disparities and social inequalities. Unemployment climbs to 36.6% in the northern part of the country, compared to 3.9% in the coastal region, while a quarter of the population lives below the poverty line, 2018. The law on the status of the descendants of the Petrovian-Jego dynasty was passed by the Parliament of Montenegro on 12 July 2011. It rehabilitated the royal house of Montenegro and recognized limited symbolic roles within the constitutional framework of the republic. In 2015, the investigative journalists network OCCRP named Montenegro's longtime president and prime minister Milo Đukanović, Person of the Year in Organized Crime. The extent of Đukanović's corruption led to street demonstrations and calls for his removal. In October 2016, for the day of the parliamentary election, a coup d'état was prepared by a group of persons that included leaders of the Montenegrin opposition, Serbian nationals and Russian agents. The coup was prevented. In 2017, 14 people, including 2 Russian nationals and 2 Montenegrin opposition leaders, Andrija Mandi and Milan Nevi, were indicted for their alleged roles in the coup attempt on charges such as preparing a conspiracy against the constitutional order and the security of Montenegro, and an attempted terrorist act.
Recent history.
Montenegro formally became a member of NATO in June 2017, despite attempts by Russia to sabotage it, an event that triggered a promise of retaliatory actions from Russia's government. Montenegro has been in negotiations with the EU since 2012. In 2018, the earlier goal of acceding by 2022 was revised to 2025. Legislation is being passed bringing Montenegro law in line with EU membership requirements. In April 2018, Milo Đukanović, the leader of the ruling Democratic Party of Socialists, DPS, won Montenegro's presidential election. The veteran politician had served as prime minister 6 times and as president once before. He had dominated Montenegrin politics since 1991. Anti-corruption protests began in February 2019 against Đukanović and the Prime Minister Duko Marković-led government of the ruling Democratic Party of Socialists, DPS, which had been in power since 1991. As of late December 2019, the newly adopted law on religion, which de jure transferred the ownership of church buildings and estates built before 1918 from the Serbian Orthodox Church to the Montenegrin state, sparked large protests and road blockages. 17 opposition Democratic Front MPs were arrested prior to the voting for disrupting the vote. Demonstrations continued into March 2020 as peaceful protest walks, mostly organized by the Metropolitanate of Montenegro and the Littoral and the Eparchy of Budimir and Niki in the majority of Montenegrin municipalities. In its Political Rights and Civil Liberties Worldwide report in May 2020, Freedom House marked Montenegro as a hybrid regime rather than a democracy because of declining standards in governance, justice, elections, and media freedom. For the first time in 3 decades, in the 2020 parliamentary election, the opposition won more votes than Đukanović's ruling party. In February 2022, that very same government was voted out in the first successful vote of no confidence in the country's history. In September 2022, an investigation linked 6 Russian diplomats with 28 Russian citizens holding temporary visas for Montenegro and 2 local citizens in a spy investigation. The diplomats were expelled. The Russian citizens were later banned from Montenegro and the 2 locals, one an ex-diplomat, faced charges of illegal weapons, organizing a criminal organization and espionage. In March 2023, Jakov Milatović, a pro-Western candidate of the Europe Now movement, won the presidential election runoff over incumbent Milo Đukanović to succeed him as the incumbent president of Montenegro. The Europe Now movement won the highest number of seats in the 2023 Montenegrin parliamentary election.
Geography.
Montenegro features high peaks along its borders with Serbia, Kosovo, and Albania, a segment of the karst of the Western Balkan Peninsula, to a narrow coastal plain that is only 1.5 to 6 kilometers, 1 to 4 miles, wide. The plain stops abruptly in the north, where Mount Lovan and Mount Orjan plunge into the inlet of the Bay of Kotor. Montenegro's large karst region lies generally at elevations of 1,000 meters, 3,280 feet, above sea level. Some parts, however, rise to 2,000 meters, 6,560 feet, such as Mount Orjan, 1,894 meters or 6,214 feet, the highest massif among the coastal limestone ranges. The Zeta River Valley, at an elevation of 500 meters, 1,600 feet, is the lowest segment. The mountains of Montenegro include some of the most rugged terrains in Europe, averaging more than 2,000 meters, 6,600 feet, in elevation. One of the country's notable peaks is Bobatov Kuk in the Dermita Mountains, which reaches a height of 2,522 meters, 8,274 feet. Owing to the hyperhumid climate on their western sides, the Montenegrin mountain ranges were among the most ice-eroded parts of the Balkan Peninsula during the last glacial period. Internationally, Montenegro borders Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo, Albania and Croatia. It lies between latitudes 41 and 44 N, and longitudes 18 and 21 E. Montenegro is a member of the International Commission for the Protection of the Danube River, as more than 2,000 square kilometers, 772 square miles, of the country's territory lie within the Danube catchment area.
Biodiversity.
The diversity of the geological base, landscape, climate, and soil, and the position of Montenegro on the Balkan Peninsula and Adriatic Sea, created the conditions for high biological diversity, putting Montenegro among the hotspots of European and world biodiversity. The number of species per area unit index in Montenegro is 0.837, the highest in any European country. Biological estimates suggest that over 1,200 species of freshwater algae, 300 species of marine algae, 589 species of moss, 7,0008, 000 species of vascular plants, 2,000 species of fungi, 16,00020, 000 species of insects, 407 species of marine fish, 56 species of reptile, 333 species of regularly visiting birds, and a high species diversity of mammals are found in Montenegro. Montenegro can be divided into two main biogeographic regions, which include the Mediterranean biogeographic region and the Alpine biogeographic region. It is also home to three terrestrial ecoregions: Balkan mixed forests, Dinaric Mountains mixed forests, and Illyrian deciduous forests. It had a 2019 Forest Landscape Integrity Index mean score of 6.41, ranking it 73rd globally out of 172 countries. The total share of protected areas in Montenegro is 9.05% of the country's area, which mainly comes from the 5 national parks of Montenegro.
Politics.
Since the breakup of the political union of Serbia and Montenegro in 2006, Montenegro has been an independent, sovereign state. Montenegro is a parliamentary representative democratic republic with a codified constitution established in 2007. The constitution describes Montenegro as a civic, democratic, ecological state of social justice, based on the reign of law. Montenegro is a multi-party system. The President of Montenegro is the representative head of state, elected for a period of 5 years through direct election. The President promotes the country internationally through diplomatic engagements, promulgates laws by ordinance, calls elections for the parliament, and ceremonially proposes candidates for Prime Minister, President and Justices of the Constitutional Court to the parliament. The President also ceremonially proposes the calling of a referendum to parliament, grants amnesty for criminal offences prescribed by the national law, confers decoration and awards, and performs other constitutional duties, and is a member of the Supreme Defense Council. The official residence of the President is in Cetinje. The incumbent President is Jakov Militovi, who has held the position since 2023. The government of Montenegro is the executive branch of government authority of Montenegro and led by the Prime Minister. The role of Prime Minister is the most politically powerful office in Montenegro. All of Montenegro's governments since 2006 have been coalitions comprising a minimum of 3 political parties. The government is primarily based in Podgorica. The Parliament of Montenegro is the country's unicameral legislature, located in Podgorica. The Parliament has power to appoint the government, pass legislation, parliamentary law, and scrutinize bills, proposed parliamentary law. It also appoints justices of all courts, approves the budget, and performs other duties as established by the country's constitution. Parliament can pass a motion of no confidence in the government by simple majority vote. One member of the Montenegrin parliament, known as a deputy, is elected per 6,000 voters. There are currently 81 deputies. Elections to the parliament are conducted by the D'Hondt method, a form of proportional representation. In 2019, Montenegro was described as a hybrid regime, a political system which combines democratic and authoritarian features, according to the United States-based Freedom House. The organization cited state capture, abuse of power, and strongman tactics by Prime Minister Milo Đukanović, 2008 to 2010 and 2012-2016, as explanations for its description as such. Đukanović held a number of senior government positions, including the presidency, before and after the dissolution of the union between Serbia and Montenegro. In 2021, the Economist Democracy Index, ED, declared Montenegro as a flawed democracy, and as of 2023, it remains regarded as such by the ED. Đukanović's pro-European and pro-NATO Democratic Party of Socialists, DPS, narrowly lost the 2020 parliamentary election, which ended the party's 30-year rule, and the Pro-Serbia, for the Future of Montenegro (ZBCG) parliamentary group, composed mainly of Serb nationalist parties, formed a government under Prime Minister Zdravko Krivokapić. Prime Minister Krivokapić's government was toppled in a no-confidence vote after just 14 months in power. In April 2022, a new minority government, led by Prime Minister Dritan Abazovi, brought together moderate parties that are both pro-European and pro-Serb. However, his government lost a confidence vote after only 113 days. Montenegro had been unable to find a government which could command the confidence of the parliament. Abazovi remains in post following the parliamentary election which took place on the 11th of June 2023, where the Europe Now party led by Jakov Milatovi won the most seats, Jakov Milatovi having won the 2023 Montenegrin presidential election and taken office on the 20th of May 2023. Milojko Spajić became Prime Minister designate in August 2023.
Foreign relations.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs was given the task of defining the foreign policy priorities and activities needed for their implementation in cooperation with other state administration authorities, the President, the Speaker of the Parliament, and other relevant stakeholders. The country joined NATO on 5 June 2017. Integration into the European Union remains a high priority for Montenegro and has been the focus of Montenegrin foreign policy since its independence from Serbia. In June 2023, newly elected President Milatovi stated that he expects Montenegro to join the European Union by 2027 or 2028.
Military and law enforcement.
The military of Montenegro is a professional standing army under the Ministry of Defense. It is composed of the Montenegrin Ground Army, the Montenegrin Navy, and the Montenegrin Air Force, along with special forces. Conscription was abolished in 2006. The military maintains an active duty force of 2,400. The bulk of its equipment and forces were inherited from the armed forces of the State Union of Serbia and Montenegro. Montenegro contained the entire coastline of the former Union and retained practically the entire naval force. Montenegro is a NATO member and a member of Adriatic Charter. The government planned to have the army participate in peacekeeping missions through the UN and NATO, such as the International Security Assistance Force. Civil law enforcement in Montenegro is primarily the responsibility of the Police Directorate, the National Police Force. Municipal police, known as communal police in Montenegro, enforce local laws in their respective municipalities. An agreement signed with the EU effective July 2023 permits EU Frontex border management personnel to operate in Montenegro in support of local border police operating on other, non-EU, borders in Montenegro.
Symbols.
The flag includes a border and arms in gold and a golden lion in the center. The National Day of 13 July marks the date in 1878 when the Congress of Berlin recognized Montenegro as the 27th independent state in the world and the start of one of the first popular uprisings in Europe against the Axis powers on 13 July 1941 in Montenegro. In 2004, the Montenegrin legislature selected a popular Montenegrin traditional song, O Bright Dawn of May, as the national anthem. Montenegro's official anthem during the reign of King Nicholas I was Ljubavoj nam Kranoj Gori, to our beautiful Montenegro.
Administrative divisions.
Montenegro is divided into 24 municipalities, općina. This includes 21 district-level municipalities and 2 urban municipalities, with 2 subdivisions of Podgorica municipality, listed below. Each municipality can contain multiple cities and towns. Historically, the territory of the country was divided into Nihidje regions of Montenegro designed for statistical purposes by the Statistical Office have no administrative function. Note that other organizations, i.e., Football Association of Montenegro, use different municipalities as a part of similar regions. Municipalities of Montenegro * Northern Region * Central Region * Coastal Region.
Economy.
The economy of Montenegro is mostly service-based and is in late transition to a market economy. According to the International Monetary Fund, the nominal GDP of Montenegro was $5.424 billion in 2019. The GDP PPP for 2019 was $12.516 billion, or $20,083 per capita. According to Eurostat data, the Montenegrin GDP per capita stood at 48% of the EU average in 2018. The Central Bank of Montenegro is not part of the Eurosystem, but the country is Euroized, using the euro unilaterally as its currency.
Infrastructure.
The Montenegrin road infrastructure is not at Western European standards. No roads meet full motorway standards. Construction of new motorways is considered a national priority, as they are important for uniform economic development and the development of Montenegro as an attractive tourist destination. The European routes that pass through Montenegro are E65 and E80. The backbone of the Montenegrin rail network is the Belgrade-Bar Railway, which provides international connection towards Serbia. A domestic branch line, the Niki-Podgorica Railway, operated as a freight-only line for decades, that opened for passenger traffic after reconstruction and electrification in 2012. The other branch line from Podgorica towards the Albanian border, the Podgorica-Shkodra Railway, is not in use. Montenegro has two international airports, Podgorica Airport and Tivat Airport. The port of Bar is Montenegro's main seaport. Initially built in 1906, the port was almost completely destroyed during World War II. Reconstruction began in 1950. It is equipped to handle over 5 million tons of cargo annually, but has been operating at a loss and well below capacity. The reconstruction of the Belgrade-Bar Railway and the proposed Belgrade-Bar motorway are expected to return operating levels to capacity. In 2023 there is a plan to install an LNG terminal at Bar to receive gas imports.
Tourism.
A total of 2.1 million visitors visited Montenegro in 2022, spending 12.4 meters nights there. The majority of foreign visitors to Montenegro come from the neighboring countries of Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina and Kosovo, as well as Russia. The Montenegrin Adriatic coast is 295 kilometers, 183 miles, long, with 72 kilometers, 45 miles, of beaches and many well-preserved ancient towns. Some of the most popular beaches include Jazz Beach, Mogran Beach, Bay Beach, Sveti Stefan Beach and Velika Plava. Meanwhile, some of the most popular ancient towns include Herceg Novi, Perast, Kotor, Budva and Ulcinj. National Geographic Traveler, edited once a decade, ranks Montenegro among the 50 places of a lifetime. Montenegrin seaside town Sveti Stefan was once used as the cover for the magazine. The coast region of Montenegro was considered one of the great discoveries among world tourists. In January 2010, the New York Times ranked the Ulcinj South Coast region of Montenegro, including Velika Plava, Ada Bojana, and the Hotel Mediterranean of Ulcinj, among the top 31 places to go in 2010, as part of a worldwide ranking.
Demographics. Ethnic structure.
The 2011 census reported 620,029 citizens. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, in 2015, 9,486 ethnic Serbs there were born in other Eastern Europe countries, overwhelmingly Montenegro. According to the 2000 U.S. Census, 2,339 individuals claimed first ancestry in Montenegro, and 189 whose second ancestry was Montenegrin, totaling 2,528 overall. Montenegro is a multi-ethnic state with no ethnic majority. Major ethnic groups include Montenegrins, Crnogorci, and Serbs, Srbi. Others are Bosniaks, Bonjaki, Muslims, Muslimani, Albanians, Albanki Shqiptar, and Croats, Hrvati. The number of Montenegrins and Serbs fluctuates widely from census to census due to changes in how people perceive, experience, or choose to express their identity and ethnic affiliation. The Montenegrin Roma population is estimated to be 20,000.
Languages.
The official language in Montenegro is Montenegrin. Serbian, Bosnian, Albanian, and Croatian are recognized in official usage. Montenegrin, Serbian, Bosnian, and Croatian are mutually intelligible as standard varieties of the Serbo-Croatian language. Montenegrin is the plurality mother tongue of the under-18 population. Previous constitutions endorsed Serbo-Croatian as the official language in SR Montenegro and Serbian of the Ijekavian standard during the 19,922,006 period.
Religion.
Montenegro has historically stood at the crossroads of multiculturalism, and over centuries this has shaped its unique coexistence between Muslim and Christian populations. Montenegrins have historically been members of the Serbian Orthodox Church, governed by the Metropolitanate of Montenegro and the littoral. Serbian Orthodox Christianity is the most popular religion. The Montenegrin Orthodox Church was recently founded and is followed by a minority of Montenegrins, although it is not in communion with any other canonical Christian Orthodox church as it has not been officially recognized. Despite tensions between religious groups during the Bosnian War, Montenegro remained fairly stable, mainly due to its population's perspective on religious tolerance and faith diversity. Religious institutions have guaranteed rights and are separate from the state. The second largest religion is Islam, practiced by 19% of the population. Montenegro has one of the highest proportion of Muslims in Europe and the third highest proportion among Slavic countries, behind only Bosnia and Herzegovina and North Macedonia. A little more than one-fourth of the country's Albanians are Catholics, 8,126 in the 2004 census, while the rest, 22,267, are mainly Sunni Muslims. In 2012, a protocol recognized Islam as an official religion, which ensures that halal foods are served at military facilities, hospitals, dormitories and social facilities, and that Muslim women are permitted to wear headscarves in schools and at public institutions, as well as ensuring that Muslims have the right to take Fridays off for the Jumu'ah, Friday, prayer. Since the time of Vojislav dynasty, Catholicism is autochthonous in the Montenegrin area. A small Roman Catholic population, mostly Albanians with some Croats, is divided between the Archdiocese of Antivari headed by the Primate of Serbia and the Diocese of Kotor that is a part of the Catholic Church in Croatia.
Culture.
Montenegrin culture has been shaped most importantly by Orthodox, Ottoman, Turk, Slavic, Central European, and seafaring Adriatic cultures, notably parts of Italy, like the Republic of Venice. Montenegro has many significant cultural and historical sites, including heritage sites from the pre-Romanesque, Gothic and Baroque periods. The Montenegrin coastal region is known for its religious monuments, including the Cathedral of Saint Tryphon in Kotor, Cataro under the Venetians, the Basilica of Saint Luke, over 800 years, Our Lady of the Rocks, Krpjela, the Savina Monastery and others. Medieval monasteries contain many artistically important frescoes. One cultural dimension is the ethical ideal of Objestivo I Junartvo, humaneness and gallantry. The traditional folk dance of the Montenegrins is the Oro, the eagle dance, that involves dancing in circles with couples alternating in the center, and is finished by forming a human pyramid of dancers standing on each other's shoulders.
Media.
Television, magazines, and newspapers are operated by both state-owned and for-profit corporations that depend on advertising, subscription, and other sales-related revenues. The Constitution of Montenegro guarantees freedom of speech. Montenegro's media system is under transformation, along with the rest of the country.
Sport.
Sport in Montenegro revolves mostly around team sports, such as water polo, football, basketball, handball, and volleyball. Other sports involve boxing, tennis, swimming, judo, karate, athletics, table tennis, and chess. Water polo is the most popular and is considered the national sport. Montenegro men's national water polo team is one of the world's top-ranked teams, winning the gold medal at the 2008 Men's European Water Polo Championship in Malaga, Spain, and winning the gold medal at the 2009 FINA Men's Water Polo World League, held in Podgorica. The Montenegrin team PVK Primorac from Kotor became a champion of Europe at the LEN Euroleague 2009 in Rijeka, Croatia. Montenegro came fourth in the men's water polo in the 2016 Olympics. Football is the second most popular sport. Notable players are Dejan Savivi, Predrag Majatovi, Mirko Vuini, Stefan Savi, Stevan Jovetti, and Stefan Magoa. The Montenegro national football team, founded in 2006, played in playoffs for UEFA Euro 2012, its highest play appearance. The Montenegro national basketball team is known for good performances and won a lot of medals as part of the Yugoslavia national basketball team. In 2006, the Basketball Federation of Montenegro along with this team joined the International Basketball Federation, FIBA, on its own, following the independence. Montenegro participated in 2 Eurobaskets. Among women's sports, the national handball team is the most successful, winning the country's first Olympic medal, claiming silver at the 2012 Summer Olympics. This was followed by the 2012 European Championship which Montenegro won, becoming European champions. RK Budućnost Podgorica has twice won the EHF Champions League. Montenegro was one of the host countries for the 2022 European Women's Handball Championship and came third. Chess is another popular sport and notable global chess players such as Slavko Dedi were born there.
Cuisine.
The first major influences to Montenegrin cuisine came from the Levant and Turkey: sarma, moussaka, pilav, pita, gibanica, börek, avapi, kebab, yuve, and Turkish sweets such as baklava and tulumba. Hungarian cuisine influences stews and satara. While Central European cuisine is evident in the prevalence of crepes, donuts, jams, many types of biscuits and cakes, and various kinds of breads. Montenegrin cuisine also varies geographically, with the cuisine in the coastal area differing from that of the northern highland region. The coastal area is traditionally a representative of Mediterranean cuisine, with seafood being a common dish. The traditional dishes of Montenegro's Adriatic coast, unlike its heartland, have been significantly influenced by Italian cuisine.